you. It's time for another episode of Storytime with Brett. This week's episode, Dressed for the Occasion. My good friend Bert Hugabean is the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. Give you the shirt off his back. And while we're on the subject of articles of clothing being removed, I'd like to share the details of an incident I heard about a while back. Apparently, a neighbor of his, dippy old Mrs. Whipplebottom, was witness to an incident so deeply shocking and disturbing that her opinion of the Hugabeans was permanently and irreparably altered. And this is how she explained it. Now, don't get me wrong, Bert's a great guy, but I'm learning that Bert has a dark side, and rumor has it, he sleeps in the nude. How do I know this, you ask? Well, I haven't actually seen it myself. But in church last Sunday, I overheard dippy old Mrs. Whipplebottom huddling with her local gossip group of nosy old hens when she told a story that all but confirmed this rumor. To be honest, it's a bit unnerving. After all, I had shared hunting camps with this guy more than once. I had no choice but to lean in close and listen to Mrs. Whipplebottom unravel the story. What I heard turned my blood ice cold. It was about 2:30 in the morning on one of the coldest nights of the year. There was at least a foot of snow on the ground and the coldest wind chill I could recall in some time. Bert's wife had awakened with a terrible headache, and so she had asked him to fetch her some Tylenol and a glass of water. Trouble was that she had left the medicine in the front seat of her car in her purse in the driveway. And like the devoted husband he is, Bert had to crawl out of bed to brave the cold, miserable night to help his bride. Many a well-meaning husband has braved the storm in hopes to cure a wife's headache for a variety of reasons. Careful not to turn on the light and aggravate his wife's headache, Bert felt his way through the dark bedroom to the closet door. Unfortunately, his housekeeping and organizational skills leave something to be desired, and he wasn't able to find his house coat or slippers. Mindful of his fragile state of his wife, he abandoned the futile search and threw on a few garments that were draped over the bedpost. And so it came to pass that Bert stepped out onto his front porch on a chilly winter's night, clad in nothing, and I do mean nothing, but his wife's pink silk nightgown, navy blue knee-high dress socks, and a pair of black leather Oxfords. A crystal clear sheen of ice covered the creaky wooden steps on the front porch as Bert carefully made his way down the steps onto the snow-covered path to his driveway. He finally reached the family sedan, pried open the front door, and bent down inside to retrieve his wife's purse where the Tylenol was inside. And that's when Bert heard something that nearly stopped his heart. It was the unmistakable sound of ice and gravel crunching beneath the tires of an approaching car. His mind racing, Bert straightened up next to the car door, his eyes darting left and right toward the county road at the end of his driveway. He was out of time. The car was close, too close. Panic set in as Bert whirled around, suddenly bathed in the headlights of a car. Mrs. Whipplebottom, returning from a late-night pinochle game at the community center, glanced over when some movement caught her attention just as things got a little bit more dramatic. Standing on the brakes, she skidded to a stop, squinting to get a clearer view of what she must have thought was a prowler attempting to break into the Hugabean household in the middle of the night. In a frenzied attempt to conceal himself and to protect the sensibilities of Mrs. Whipplebottom, Bert turned to make a mad dash for the front door of his house. But in his haste to evade her eyes, he closed the door of his wife's car on the lace ruffles of his wife's pink, silky floral nightgown, ripping the garment from his naked form. As he accelerated away, Mrs. Whipplebottom gasped at the sight of Bert's pasty white buttocks illuminated by her headlights as he frantically sprinted toward the front steps. Reaching for the doorknob and the privacy of his living room, Bert's efforts were in vain. As he reached the bottom step of the front porch, the shiny black Oxfords he was wearing released their purchase on the icy steps, sending Bert's feet straight up into the air in front of him. His forward momentum carried Bert through a complete reverse somersault, displaying all of his credentials to Mrs. Whiffelbottom, who thankfully was already covering her eyes and gasping with horror. Bert returned to Earth with a thud, sending a cloud of powdery, fluffy white snow ascending into the night air, then peacefully settling back down around him. Rattled, bruised, and battered, Bert slowly collected himself and limped up the steps into the house. As he hobbled toward the bedroom, partially lit by the headlights glowing outside, Bert could see his wife sitting upright in bed. She was peering out the bedroom window at the county road. "Mrs. Whiffelbottom's car is idling at the end of the driveway," she said. "Do you think she's okay? It almost looks like she's fainted or something." Bert climbed back into bed, this time wearing a pair of proper men's pajamas and a t-shirt. "I'm sure she's fine," he said. "She's probably just uploading a video to Facebook or something." And to this day, Bert claims he no longer sleeps in the nude.